Homine Spiritu Sanctu. Apparently, it's not lagging like it was. So, okay. 14 seconds in, I have nobody here. They've all gone. We've lost everybody.
The world has disappeared.
Oops, somebody's watching. I better be cool now. 5.
Quit the comedy.
Okay. We got 5 now.
It's better, huh?
7 now. Yep. I don't know why it does that. Again, it could be the computer, it could be the local internet here. I should be getting another computer next week, so hopefully we'll be able to do the picture-in-a-picture and all that other stuff here pretty soon. That'd be really cool. Thanks again to Joachim and to Levi. Cool. Levi is his friend, Levi has access to a lot of computer stuff, and so they're putting me together another computer. It's not beer.
There's no beer cans, Ted.
Yeah.
No beer cans. We're doing this sober.
Uppers,
no
man.
Adult beverages.
Uppers. So, as I say, hopefully we'll have that running by next week. That would be cool, because then I can be monitoring one while, he's talking to the other, vice versa, stuff like that. Do it more like a real live stream, professionally, etc.
You're going to get delusions of grandeur.
Anyhow.
I can tell already.
So, anyhow, as we're letting people come on here a little bit, we'll just recap the week's things. Had my gallbladder out. Last Sunday, you saw me. I wasn't feeling too good. There was a reason for it. Jim got me to the hospital. Chris and Eva told me to go to the hospital. And so everything's working out well there. We went to Butte last week. Got some interesting opportunities in terms of working with the Center for Advanced Metallurgical Processing.
Correct.
To get some rather sophisticated testing done. And then pretty much I killed the rest of the week just doing some research on the internet, because unfortunately I just had surgery, so I'm kind of incapacitated. Anyhow, so we got 13 people here. Let me get back to that situation. So anyhow, this gentleman is looking at processing some tailings from some artisanal mining stuff. The tailings are extremely high grade, running 1% gold or better. As Chris Georgie pointed out, hell, you could furnace that, and still make money. But with the quantity they're looking at, you'd have to have a pretty big furnace.
The tonnage.
So cyanide would certainly work as long as the particle size is small enough. But another change compared to the usual cyanide circuit that would probably make sense. In a usual cyanide leaching circuit, use the cyanide to dissolve the gold, and then you use carbon, or less commonly an ion exchange resin, to absorb the gold out of solution. Then you separate the carbon or the resin from the rest of the stuff,
strip it,
and then dissolve the gold out of that, and then electroplate it. Well, guess what? At these grades, you don't need to do all that stuff, because all the carbon or the resin does is concentrate it. And if you're starting with 1% gold,
right, you've already got
you got plenty of concentrate.
High grade ore, real high grade ore.
So you might as well just, I would say, just direct electrowinning. In other words, dissolve the gold, take that liquid, and run it right through an electrolytic cell. And so that would make it a lot simpler system. It would also make it a safer system in that the stripping circuit and that improves the safety too, because the cyanide concentrations, temperatures, and alkalinity of the stripping solution is just insane. You're running like 1 or 2% cyanide, 190 degrees Fahrenheit, pH of 14. As I like to say, it'll poison you, dissolve you, and burn you all at the same time. So it's some nasty stuff. And if you can avoid that, that's nice. Now, Jimmy wants to know what type of wash plant you have and how many yards you can run, Jim.
I've got two different ones. One plant that'll run about 20 yards an hour. That's a trommel with a hopper feeder system. It's actually a feed plate system that feeds a very consistent amount of material through the, a grizzly on top, so you're separating out all the big rocks. And then I built another plant basically for the property that we were on over the past number of years. That it's more of an Alaskan style where we're feeding a hopper that's literally full of water jets, so we could wash a 4-foot rock. I mean, if it would fit in the bucket of my big hoe, we could wash it. And that way we were able to wash everything that we could dig. Any of the rocks, everything got washed. And that plant would run pretty consistently at 150 yards a day in an 8-hour day or so, about 25 yards an hour or so, give or take, depending on, if you had enough water, how fast your tailings pond was filling, and the area we had to work in was tight. So we'd occasionally have to just shut down and pull out the gravel, at least for the first 20 feet below the sluice box, just to keep it. And then we were using that gravel actually for a road mix, so it was working out good anyway, but fixing the road up in there. So I'm not big. I'm not like you're seeing on Gold Rush where I'm running 3,000 yards a day. We weren't. We were trying to be somewhere in that 100 to 150 yards a day. And sometimes as a two-man operation, that's hard. It's a lot of work. Ideally, if I would do that property again, or was going to do that type of a situation again, I would up my yardage to 50 yards an hour. I'd go with a bigger plant. 50 yards an hour. We had the water to do it. We could have mined, or actually had the wash plant running 4 days a week and had 3 days a week for maintenance, infrastructure repairs, like cleaning ditches and cleaning ponds and that type of thing. And maybe even some of the reclamation a little more concurrent. Like I said earlier, there's a scale of economy that it doesn't cost a lot more to go to slightly bigger, like a wash plant. I already have big enough excavators and payloader and stuff. To jump to a slightly larger wash plant really would have not have changed my daily costs hardly at all. It would have taken the same amount of fuel to run, things like that. Well, just that scale of economy at literally going 50 yards an hour, you were actually doubling your throughput without raising your costs, except for the cost of the plant and maybe a bigger pump. So everything, you got to start to calculate every individual component of the whole, and then try to figure out where's the best place in that range to be. And as a two-man operation, and if you really want to make money and get through a reasonable amount of ground, let's just say in a 5-month season, you want to get through 4 or 5 acres of ground. That's 20 feet deep. You want to be somewhere in that 50 to 80 yards an hour for a wash plant.
Okay, and Dirty Old Goat said that Rockhound Riker says hi.
Hi, Riker.
Are you mining this summer, Jim?
I'm working on a placer situation right now, and I don't know. It's going to depend on if we can get this land deal put together and finalized so that we can file our permits and get in at least and do test holes for the following season. I mean, that'd be the worst case scenario. I'm thinking probably only get the testing done maybe.
Is it on federal land?
No, it's actually private piece of land.
So you're just talking some Montana permits, basically.
Right, DEQ really is, exploration license or the small miners. Either way, it's not a lot different in this situation.
Okay.
And we discussed some of that last Sunday as far as, different permitting situations and, different levels that you can go into this at.
Oh, by the way, Jimmy, my daughter's going to buy me a fishing license March 1st. So after March 1st, we could go fishing.
That's his birthday present.
Yeah, that's right. So anyhow, now another thing while we're waiting for any other questions like that on this high grade material in Africa, another thing that you would really want to seriously consider when you've got something that rich is instead of using cyanide, which is a relatively slow Licks event, as they call it, it dissolves relatively slow, you might want to go to something a bit more aggressive that would normally be a little more expensive or a little trickier to use. But under these conditions, it would make a lot of sense because you could drastically reduce the size of your plant.
You should try to do different gravity separations too to see if you can get more out of it that way.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to do a regrind and a gravity separation too to see what you can get that way before you even try dissolving it. But things like thiourea, certain halide leaches, there's a number of different things that can dissolve gold. Virtually none of them are as toxic as cyanide, but they're all more expensive, and in some cases they're a bit tricky. In some cases they won't work on particular types of ores because of other minerals that are in there. Of course, that can work with cyanide too. There's certain things that make cyanide a lot harder to use. That can eat up a lot of cyanide. If you had an acidic ore, you need to add a lot more lime to neutralize it. If you have a lot of copper, things like that, it can get dissolved by the cyanide, thus consuming it, thus also loading your carbon or resin a lot quicker with stuff that you really don't want to recover in the first place. So when you have something that extraordinarily rich, you have a lot of options that are available, and you'd simply have to take a rough look at things, pick the 2 or 3 that make the most sense, give them some laboratory scale testing, and see what happens.
I think Jimmy asked, Jimmy, I'm working right now on a copper hard rock mine project. We're in the process of permitting that and working on that right now for this summer for opening some more adits on that mountain and doing the geological mapping, a bunch of assay testing and mapping underground in the old workings, and possibly trying to target some drill sites for some future drilling for probably next a year out. In the meantime, though, yeah, I've got placer equipment that's sitting, and I'm working on trying to put a placer project together that I can go back to placer mining, a substantial piece of ground for maybe the next 4 or 5 years.
Nice steady income.
It's something that I got every summer. You can mine, and even if we're only mining 3 months of the season, I miss it. I love placer mining. It's my favorite thing to do. And if the copper and gold and silver in the hard rock and that at some point that would be turned over to a bigger mining outfit anyway. So it's really just additional claims or things that I'm working on that I do have to spend time there, but I could definitely be placer mining.
And yeah, Zioxio, the silver will consume the cyanide and tend to poison, well, not poison, but load the carbon too. Yeah. So yeah, that's important. But a lot of other metals too. Copper is one of those. There's some ways you can suppress it. I think if you add extra lime, it'll help suppress that. But yeah, there's a lot of things you can do there. And with something like that, you want to be as efficient as possible in terms of recovery. The situation with the permitting is, of course, going to make life complicated here. Is your hard rock deposit on federal land?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And actually, as of right now, it looks like we're going to get the okay to do what we're doing, but we don't, I mean, with the changes of things that are going on, everything could be drugged to a dead stall.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Well, as long as you're working underground, it really doesn't require any permitting, does it?
Well, like here where we're opening adits, we're going to do some excavation to open adits, and we're going to do some possible trenching, which are shallow trenches.
That would require
Or
it,
we're
yeah.
going to do some trenching to identify changes in rock along the edge of the road up there. And so there's plus we had to file for a permit for crossing a stream. So we got to build a bridge, and that requires permitting, which that actually went well. That was not an issue even. That went really a lot better than I thought.
Well, when you say a bridge, are you talking like a culvert type?
No, we're
crossing,
actually
or-
going to do some timber with 4-inch thick, 4x12 planking, and build a bridge that we can take with us when we leave again.
What kind of foundations are you going to use for the piling?
Just some poles,
And
just some logs.
How are you going to drive them in?
We're going to set one on each side of the creek, basically,
Okay.
and plank it, and then just ramp it slightly on each side so we can, run a pickup or trucks over it for an access to what we're doing right now.
How much of a span are you going to?
The creek right now, the existing creek is about 3 feet wide.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's not.
Just a little dinky.
It's not. It's just a spring up in the mountain. Really, is what it
Okay.
amounts to. But you have to permit to cross. And if you're going to have any damage to anything, it's all permitting, and that's part of their reclamation bond. That anything you rip up, you have to fix.
Would it, in a situation like that, would it potentially make more sense to just put some a layer of cobble or something in, so you don't have a bridge, you just have a ford?
Well, we asked them about doing that. We thought
Yeah.
about cutting it back just enough to ford it.
Yeah.
Because it does have a little bit of a bank on each side. And they were like, no, we'd rather you, for now, if we get to where we need dump trucks or something in there, something bigger, we may have to do something different. But then it's adjusting the permit again, of course. But for now, being it's temporary until that testing is done, and we can prove that we think we have what we have, the cheapest way is drop a plank bridge in and drive across it.
Okay.
Until we get to that point.
Okay.
Now 4x12s will hold up, especially in a short distance like that. You could put a tandem dump truck across that, and you're not going to crack those planks.
I would think you'd have to be careful that your timbers on each side, what you might call your foundation timbers, are well placed.
Right, so you don't rack it, but it's such a short span.
Yeah.
It's kind of a pain, but we can do it. It's doable.
Yep. Okay, things seem to be moving smoothly still. Anyone have any other specific questions here? Because that's basically how things are going.
And I will look into that stuff this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting the electron microscope testing done and see what we can. Says, why not just drop a trench plate across the creek?
Well, the water conservation board and the county commissioners thought we should just plank a bridge across it. So we're like, okay. And it made getting the permit really easy that way. So instead of arguing or coming up with, complicating it, it was like, oh, yep, we can do that. That's good.
Okay. Hi, Gene. Let's see. Jeff Bybee, with Reclamation, have you ever known anyone to plant faster growing trees to make it better for the land agency because it looks prettier faster?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's things you can do when you're thinking about your reclamation that you could even, like I did on one piece, is we seeded it, and then our processed water from our muddy pond, we actually set it up so we were irrigating onto the ground that we'd already seeded. So it was green in 2 or 3 weeks. It was green, and by fall the deer were over and clean. And the sooner it's greened up, the happier they are about releasing your bond, your reclamation bond and that type of thing. So there's a lot of ways you can get rid of the dirty water too by shooting it in. Dirty Goat, they did that last year. They shot them outside with their dirty process water. And so they were literally watering the forest around them with that muddy water. That way it didn't fill their pond and end up somewhere else that you didn't want it.
Did it provide extra nutrients?
Well, for sure. You're pumping all that up into the timber and the trees and the grass, and you're keeping a fire danger down within the working environment you're in also. I mean, it's got some pluses. It costs to run another pump or whatever, but if you're worried about having contamination into the creek or something, a concept like that, using it for irrigation or using it on irrigation for your creek then.
Okay. Let's see, Patrick says, what is meant by the term refractory ore? Chris answered PETA ore, as in pain in the ass. Essentially, that's correct, although it's a little more technical than that. There's free milling and refractory. There's lots of reasons for being refractory, but free milling basically means if you crush it, you can extract metallic gold particles from the ore, and most of the gold is in the form of free metallic gold particles. Refractory ore is usually refractory because the gold is contained in something that seals it pretty good, like it's in pyrite or in arsenopyrite. Sorry, don't want to mispronunciate it. And as such, it's very difficult to get out. Now, the ore at Montana B, I would say that's pretty refractory in that we can only get about 16% with gravity concentration. Although it may not be refractory in the conventional sense, it may be because the gold particles are extremely small. They may also be gold tellurides.
If they're tellurides, that changes the whole thing.
Then it becomes a refractory ore in the conventional sense. But basically, refractory just means, as Chris said, pain in the ass. Simple, It
worked.
Yeah.
I agree that, we had a couple comments here on, irrigating and using that muddy, dirty water, and it's full of nutrients and minerals that you're putting back up on the mountainside or into the grass somewhere and like I was saying, it kept the fire danger in that general vicinity down as well. So there's some really good ideas for, solutions to problems if you start to figure out how do you deal with that problem.
Now, me being from southern Arizona, the concept of forest fires is nice and theoretical, but from a more practical standpoint, okay, so say you're spraying all this out there. Now your trees, your bushes, and everything's all nice and well watered. Does that give you a space where essentially the fire just can't go because there's just too much dampness there?
It might go there, but it's not going to be as intense or as hot, and it'll burn through faster. I mean, green vegetation sometimes can burn just as bad as something like a dry Christmas tree. But if the ground is wet and things like that, it might burn through, but it'll burn through fast. But it could very well be a fire break as well, depending on the day that it happens. Mm-hmm. If you've got high humidity right there in that couple 100 feet, because of all that moisture in there, that high humidity might be enough to stave that fire right at that point.
Okay.
Because humidity plays a lot into the conditions of a forest fire, especially.
Okay.
The lower the humidity, the more likely of getting things to light on fire with one spark.
Hey, Mr. Fang and Adrian, how's it going? Smoking, does it look like gold paint on heavies under a microscope? No, it does not. It's not real visible at all. I would say that I'm only recovering less than 5% as visible gold particles, maybe as low as less than 2%. The concentrates in the gravity separation are running 4 to 8 times the head grade, but it's not obvious where that 4 to 8 times is. So this is one reason why this electron microscope test should be extremely useful. This is not easy to deal with. So as such, it should be pretty interesting doing all the samples and stuff. This cold a lot better than the truck. Our truck, it's got to warm up for like 5 minutes first.
And they don't let you in the hospital
Yeah.
because COVID.
Yeah. Old timers called refractory rock rebellious rock. I just call
It doesn't appear to be.
Yeah, I don't see
well,
any.
there it did. Connection unstable again.
Yeah, let's see what's happening here. Yeah. Winging it's getting buffering too. This is getting really, really annoying.
Yeah, that could be the local provider.
That'd be my guess.
I don't know. Well, next time if it does it again, then what we'll do is we'll switch to your cell phone, little one. Because I'm not seeing it my screen here. And that's what my computer is feeding to thing. Yeah, Jimmy, Zioxio is a student at Montana Tech.
What does the monitor for nights say the speed is right now?
I don't know if I can find out. Let's see. Let me click on this. Right click on this. Status. 78 megabits per second. So it has definitely slowed down.
It is
Now it's 87 megabits per second. Okay, give an update on how things have been in Montana the last 2 weeks. Well, Mr. Fang, I'm not sure exactly.
cold.
But it's quite pleasant right now. It's probably about freezing outside is all.
Yeah.
So it's been much warmer. The snow is almost non-existent in terms of falling down. There's still a lot of snow on the ground. Say that in that way,
well, at least we warmed up.
yeah, it's balmy out there right now.
It was nice here.
Well, Mr. Fang, since I just had my gallbladder out, the job search has come to a screeching halt. Because I don't know about you, but if I was a construction foreman, I don't think I'd want someone who just had surgery right now.
No, probably
Yeah.
not.
Lobster in a second. Yeah. What I'm doing right now is doing research on records and such to look for potential other locations or any information I can find on the locations we have. So that's what's going on right now. I've got enough work to keep me busy a couple days a week for 3 weeks or something like that. But what can you do? I'm doing fine, recovering well, and did you even notice that I'd had surgery when we were in Butte?
No, you did good walking
Yeah.
around and handling,
Yeah, the one thing that if you've known me before and you watched me there, you would see was I was very, very careful whenever it was potentially icy.
Yeah, but that's
Whenever there was any potentially slippery stuff, I slowed way down and really old man did.
Tense up and it's going to hurt.
Yeah, I say so. I don't want to fall. Period. End of story. But aside from that, I was moving pretty fluidly and it was pretty comfortable.
Right.
So, who needs money? Anyone? Me. It's not the money. It's everything you buy with the money. And Jim's also been helping. He's got a kind of his own little food bank setup he does.
Yeah,
And so our freezer's full right now. And that's worked out pretty well.
And we made a discovery for the low carb eaters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did actually.
Yeah, everything's, I say, recovery's going well. Took a little while for my gastrointestinal system to settle down a little bit after all the fluctuations and such. Seems to be pretty much settling out right now and not causing any problems. So I'm not seeing any at this point, but it has to reach a new equilibrium, and we'll see how that all works out. I may have to change my eating habits a little bit. As I understand it, I can't eat a whole lot of fat at any one time right now.
Right.
But aside from that, it shouldn't. And we may have actually came up with something. Was it last night we made the enchiladas, or I made the enchiladas? Yeah, we tried making some enchiladas. Those
Pork ribs.
no, not the ribs, the chicken legs.
Oh, sure.
That you had.
Oh, yeah,
They had,
that worked
it's
out
kind of
really
spice on them and everything. So tried, well, let's chop some up and roll them up in tortillas and put some sauce on them and stuff. And Eva's trying to do a really low.
Eva eats a really low carb diet.
Yeah,
I eat
low
keto.
carb. And so Mission has these low carbohydrate tortillas. So that's, of course, what I had.
Sure.
That's what I used. And the funny thing was they tasted a whole lot like lasagna noodles.
Really?
Really? And so we're going to try that tomorrow. We're going to get some marinara sauce and some hamburger and some ricotta cheese and stuff. And we're going to actually make lasagna
Well, you can do
with
that.
the
pan-
tortillas.
Sure, that'll work.
and see what happens.
That'll work.
Knock off the power drink shoot. Well, I would love to smoking,
Well, you see,
but I got to come up
keto,
with an alternative.
keto pastas are really terrible because most of the keto pastas are made of konjac noodles or edamame. They're not real pasta.
Hey, you got to keep up your strength to be a miner. Okay.
He eats over a pound of meat a day. He's got plenty of strength.
Oh, Mr. Fang is saying, no, don't do it.
Cooking
Don't do
show.
it. Yeah.
Thanks, Bryce.
No, I hate to tell you guys, as a person who burns up a lot of energy, I need to refuel, which means I need to eat. And I like to eat. I don't like to just shove calories in my face because I need calories. I like to
Really?
enjoy shoving calories in my face. So,
That's why you boredom eat to the point where you gain weight.
you know, Chris, not a huge fan of those noodles. They're better than nothing sort of thing. But yeah, it's just not so much. They got a weird texture and stuff to them. So let's say it's been
The cooking show.
yeah, it was an interesting idea. We're going to find out how that works, and you ask next week if I forget. But it may work out real well. Yeah, I was watching. Actually, it was a TED Talk today on low carbohydrate and this and that and the other, and everything that Eva's been telling me for 2 years, right there.
She's
Well,
right.
stir.
Yeah. Beer is nutrients.
Yeah.
Except I don't like beer. Besides alcohol, trust me, I wouldn't be working too well. Alcohol hits me hard. Most medications, things like that, hit me pretty solidly.
Oh, really?
If I take 2 shots of vodka as a mixed drink, I'm going to be sleeping in 30 minutes.
If
Oh,
he
that's okay.
he
End
will
of story.
measure 2 shots of vodka, then he will start to giggle a little. Then his eyes will get glassy,
Then he's going.
and then he will
his alcohol.
randomly announce, "Little one, I'm crawling to bed now." And next thing I know, he's snoring on the floor. I'm serious. For a dude his size, it's ridiculous. I can drink him under the table.
Yeah, she probably could.
Of course, I could drink half the Navy battalion under the table.
She's got a weird liver. She can do that. Don't get into a drinking contest with her. But anyhow, I'll say that was just kind of an incidental thing, a little serendipitous discovery. We'll see how well it works out. If the lasagna works out real well, it's like, sweet. She's going to be posting it on Arquito and, you know, another
Celebration
wondrous thing
moments.
we've released to the world. So anyhow, let's see, anything else? I can't think of anything right now. We're going to be waiting on the results. I don't know how fast we're going to get results back from the test over in Butte. It would be nice if they can get it done this
within
week.
2 weeks, within 10 days of work days or something, I would think you'll know something, especially, you know, the microscopic stuff. I would think they'd be able to pull that together fairly quick.
Oh, Patrick says that might make an interesting live stream, little one.
We
Hey,
can charge for
Hey,
it.
Mr. Lodak. We're kind of running out of topics right now, so
Yeah, come on, good questions, please.
Hi,
a little bit
Mr.
late, but
Lodak.
got any good questions there to start things up again? But I say we'll see how soon we can get some the test results back on that. Well, that's because the live stream glitched out on us a while back. I had to restart another one. Yeah. You read something about a report. Okay, Mr. Fang, go ahead. I'm not sure which report. I've been going over a number of old reports, old mining reports. The particular stuff was compiled in 1949. And so then I got to go through that report, look at the various mines, look at where they are, go to the maps there, then go to a modern thing I've been using. What's the name of that again? What's that website? Land Matters.
Yeah, My Land Matters.
My Land Matters, to see what the current situation is there and everything, and try and look at anything that apparently has been overlooked, is currently not claimed, that was potentially good or whatever, and go from there. Yes, Adrian, they can use vegetation for trace element prospecting.
Geophysical.
And that can be useful.
They can use pine trees too.
Yeah.
They can at least identify mineralized areas, higher concentrations of mineral.
Yeah. Jimmy, the results are going to point us in the direction of what tests to run in order to get a good recovery, because knowing exactly what size and form and associations are involved with the gold will tell us this should work, this shouldn't work, this might work okay, and therefore we can arrange the secondary testing with much greater efficiency and likelihood of getting results that are useful.
Process results.
Mr. Lodak, what made you get into gold in general? Okay, back in 1978, I had a wife, I had a kid, I had a job at minimum wage, and I moved 500 miles to get a job in underground uranium mining for the money, because my mom knew somebody whose son was at the mine, and that got me into mining. A year and a half later, the mine, the United Nuclear Church Rock uranium mine, had a big tailings spill, which shut things down. A lot of people got laid off. I was one of them. I went back to Yuma, Arizona, and they were opening up the ChemGold Picacho mine, and they put an ad in the paper for a rock driller loader operator wanted. And I applied. I mean, not too many rock drillers in Yuma, Arizona, and got the job. That's how I got started in gold mining. It was an open pit heap leach gold mine. I did test hole drilling, I did blast hole drilling, heavy equipment operation. In 2 years, I was the mine operations foreman, and it was my job to do everything from test hole drilling to building the pads, stacking the pads, and getting it ready to be leached, and then turning it over to the mill crew. That was my job. One thing I learned is a lot of people do not know how mine claims work, so I'm going to put up a ton of registered claim signs. I think most people will shy away. What do you think? I think that's a really good idea to put up the signs to kind of keep people away.
It's a great idea.
It's not going to be entirely effective. Also, you can put up some cameras. Make sure you hide them well, or people will just steal them. And the other thing is, I like to put my corner stakes in Arizona. It's a 2x2 is fine, 1.5 by 1.5 inch, and I'll just drive a 1/2 inch rod into the ground, and then I drill 1/2 inch diameter holes in the bottom of the stake so I can put them there. That way, if somebody takes the stake, they usually leave the pin in the ground.
Pin is there, yeah.
And therefore, I can come back and find it and put another stake on it pretty easily. So that's kind of like how I like to do it, because to get a stake in the ground, let's suppose it's up here, it's a 4x4 inch.
Here
stake.
it's a 4x4 timber that's supposed to be, I believe it's 4 feet from the ground up.
Yeah, 4 foot up above the ground.
Yep.
Now,
And then ideally you put rocks around the bottom too, to make a pyramid of rock. Because that's an identifier too, that if they do pull a stake out, maybe the rock pile is still there. You can identify the rock pile.
if I go to Home Depot and get those concrete stakes, form stakes, grind a bevel on the top so when I smash it, it doesn't mushroom. And then drill the appropriate size hole. I think it's 5/8 in the bottom of the post. I can just drive those suckers in the ground, put the stake on top of it.
You could do the same thing even with a piece of rebar. Even on the 4x4, if you drilled a foot up into or foot and a half up into it, you don't want to get far enough that it'll stand, but you could do the same thing. It's just so that it's a known, really marked corner is really the rule of law.
Yeah, Mr. Fang, if you're getting serious about someplace, you're just going to have to do some sampling, and some kind of if it's bench plasters and stuff, more grid than picking a channel and following it, sort of thing. Let's see.
Yeah, I agree with Chris that they can high grade your area if you're not out there quite a bit. Once you put up federal marking corners.
Well, Mr. Fang, if you have a GPS system, that can work well if it's reasonably accurate. My little handheld GPS accurate to about 10 feet.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the kind of precision you'd like to have on your claim corners, but it's close enough, and it's real quick and easy. You can get on Google Earth and move your cursor around and see where it is and get your initial point that way, and then calculate. Now, do remember, your latitude and longitude degrees change over the surface of the Earth. So you're going to have to go on the internet, get a calculator, and figure out how many feet per minute of latitude or longitude, and they're different, at your location.
Some locations will give you a GPS coordinate, within a few feet anyway.
Now, if your GPS system also has a differential from last waypoint in feet, then you can do that too. You can put one stake in the ground, get a waypoint, and then go. And if it says 600 feet north and 1500 feet west, okay, here, and you're using it as a differential, that can work too. But that's kind of the easiest. And I have a survey instrument and such where once I've established what I want to do and got my grid lined up, I can shoot 2,000 feet easily to within 100th of a foot. It's fairly easy to do, but you have to have a direct line of sight. So a lot of times you're having to set intermediate points on the ridge, move the instrument to the intermediate point, back sight to a line, and shoot ahead. It can be a real pain. So GPS is a lot quicker.
Yeah, Onyx has a good GPS type program too.
Around here, Chris, it has to be 4 inches by 4 inch post, or 8-inch diameter log, I think
Tree.
it is.
Yeah, you can use it. You can flatten, blaze 4 sides of a tree, but it's got to be an 8-inch tree. So if it's within, a few feet of your corner, you can pick a tree and use it. And that's still legal here.
That would be practical because it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to steal a tree.
Well, and if you blaze it, the blaze is pretty permanent. It'll be there. That tree can get bigger, but the blaze will always be there.
Oh, yeah.
And Jimmy says some of the old timers finished 6th grade and were smart enough to not show and tell where they get their gold. Yeah, there's some validity to that.
Yeah.
Especially if you had really good
Good
gold
gold.
somewhere.
Yeah,
What you might want to do
Now,
is stake a claim in some, make some little company or something and stake it in the company's name over there where you actually got your good gold, then stake a claim in your name somewhere else and make sure you come from that area all the time. But yeah, so it's
well, and if you're gonna put it on YouTube like Dan Hurd does or something, as far as showing gold, my opinion would be don't put it on YouTube till next year. Keep some of those episodes for later on down the road somewhere.
Yeah. I'm sure they would allow steel posts, Chris, but it'd have to be 4-inch by 4-inch. It didn't say, I don't think it requires wood, but it has to be a 4-inch by 4-inch square post, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't, you know what? I'd have to look at the law to actually
Yeah.
tell you, interpret that. But normally that's what they figured figured it as a wood post. But I mean, I know some guys that have used like a steel post in the ground and a piece of PVC pipe over the top or whatever. And Forest Service does not like it.
Yeah. Mr. Fang, as you're looking at Google Earth, your cursor will usually, what mine does, it has a GPS coordinate in the lower right corner. It's the coordinate of the cursor.
Mm-hmm.
So as you move it around, those numbers will be changing instantaneously as you do
It'll
that.
give you a location.
So you can zoom in, put your cursor there, and get a GPS coordinate of that spot. So, and that's kind of how I do it to get a good idea. When I was checking the stakes on that claim over by Graterville, I had a map that had the GPS coordinates of the claim corners. Montana B, I have a map that shows the GPS coordinates of the claim corners. And from that, I can calculate the offsets to other claim corners and just go out there and look. Now, I have to convert because everything there is in decimal degrees, and my GPS is decimal minutes. So I got so many degrees, so many decimal blah, blah, blah minutes. But it's pretty simple, and go from there. But if you don't have those coordinates to start from, you're still going to need to find out what the offset is at your latitude and longitude. You can get it off the internet, as how many feet per degree, and then divide that, and figure out how many decimal degrees or decimal minutes or whatever it is in order to get 600 foot and 1500 foot offsets. And then you just add those or subtract them from your starting point and go from there. And to get the starting point, you can just pick a good object on the ground that you can spot on Google Earth and use that as a claim corner or as an offset corner to initialize your GPS. And in the case of that one, it's the portal of the mine is identifiable within a couple of feet on the satellite. So you just put the cursor right on the portal there. And that's your GPS according to Google Earth of that point. And then you calculate your offsets from that point.
Right.
And then you can just go out there with your GPS and walk around and go, okay, this one's supposed to be blah, 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 there, chink, and you're within a few feet of it.
Yeah.
You know? So let's see. Well, that's why I'm just using the Google Earth. You know, I'm not using maps per se to figure it out, but yeah. You could be, Chris. I don't know, but the numbers are repeatable on Google Earth. That's all I know. And when I looked at the coordinates that I was given and then plotted them on Google Earth, they seem to work pretty good. You know, the bushes and trees and such that I was seeing on the satellite and saying, right here is where it's supposed to be. I'd walk, set myself up by my hand, look around and go, yep, that's where it was. Pretty darn close.
Yeah.
But I say it's one of those things, actual survey grade equipment, you know, is nice, but it's not very practical for the ordinary person. Well, you got to pick where you want one claim corner to go, Mr. Fang. Wherever that claim corner is, because you're looking at such and such a stuff. If you're trying to find a true section corner, you can look on the USGS map, and it will have a lat lon on it. You know, it's got a latitude longitude grid as well as the cadastral survey, and so figure your lat lon of the claim corner from the USGS topo map, and that will give you, you know, a start point. And then hopefully you can actually find the section corner. A lot of them are marked. There should be an actual marker there in many cases.
Yeah, it might be
There
just
is in Tucson.
And
here in the
There's a
forest on the
monument right down
mountain,
by our house.
you can find and stuff, section corners.
well, Chris, I can tell you this too. My survey instructor told me that a lot of those quarter corners are not terribly accurate. They can be off by 30, 40 feet or more, because the surveyors back in the 1880s that were putting them in were not necessarily
they drug a
real
chain.
careful
They might have had a
sometimes.
bottle of whiskey with them.
Yeah, and they wanted to get to town.
Well, they drug a chain,
Yeah.
and the more they drug the chain could stretch too.
Yeah.
And if they didn't make up for a grade, because a chain has to be level, like, you know, plumb line. And if they didn't adjust the chain according to the height and elevation changes, if they just drug it up the hill, they came up short.
Let's see.
So, you know, and especially if they went mile after mile, the old way of doing it, they could be off. Sometimes it's surprising how accurate they actually were because of what they did. But
Okay, so
Well, down in Tucson, the section monument for the section our house is in.
Smoking wants to know my PayPal account.
Our house, and it's an actual monument.
Oh, yeah.
It's about 3 feet tall.
yeah, some of them are concrete posts.
actually, I should probably just type it in, huh? Yeah. I keep forgetting. Okay, Smoking, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type it in for you here. Let's see. There's also mineral monuments and sometimes. That was one I lined up for my claims down by Arivaca. Okay, Smoking, my PayPal account. Let me check it out real carefully here. Oh, get some glasses. Wild West. Yep, that's it. Okay. There we go. And I appreciate it. Never turned down charitable assistance. You ask Jim here.
Well, it's got to survive too. Everybody's got to keep going.
But anyhow, so that's my PayPal account, wildwestkettlecorn@hotmail.com. Or you can just go to any one of my videos in general and look the videos I post, not the live streams. And, you know, at about 10 seconds in, it gives you that too, in case you lose it. Yeah, I know you got nasty terrain. That's why I'm over here, Chris. Yeah, that's some serious stuff over there. They're called the Sierra Nevadas. And
That road was ridiculous.
I think that's Mexican for really big mountains.
That was not a road, okay? That was not even a Jeep trail. That was just bizarre.
Yes, it was a road. We got a trailer down it. Yes, it was a Forest Service road. They take logging trucks down those roads. Strangely
it's
enough.
not my fault they're psychotic and have a death wish.
Well, if you lived in California, you might have a death wish too.
Point well taken.
Yeah.
I will not disagree with that assessment.
I don't know. I'm trying to think what's the craziest road I've ever been on. There's one up on the Aguila Mountains that was just a dozer road basically. And it's, you know, 500 feet down the side there and wide enough for the truck. And my stupid brother, he's sitting there driving along talking to me like this. You know, it's like, watch the damn road, you idiot! You know? But
Don't drive us
Well, was
over.
he on the inside or the outside?
there's only one side.
Yeah,
Well, what I
there's
mean
two
is, was he
tracks.
next to the cliff or was he next to the cliff? The cliff going up or
The
the cliff
rock
going
with
down?
phase.
Both. It's just as wide as a truck. That's it. It
In
was
this
not a
case, it's
two-lane
not even
road.
a road.
That's correct. It is a Jeep trail. It is a dozer road. Okay, that's it.
Scary.
A dozer built a road up to a mine. That's it. Actually, it might have been an antenna up there. You know, one of those relay antennas. Yeah. Yeah, Chris says, hey, Eva, that was one of the best roads in the area. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, Chris. It didn't look that bad to me.
That was a
And
ridiculous
some of those
road.
are made they're better with a four-wheeler.
So the roads out here have been very good so far.
There's good roads here for the most part. I mean, I can get you on some that get a little rough, you know, washed out rock. And
Well, I noticed there's no washboarding on the roads here. Down in Tucson, the roads that look nice and smooth and are not boulders and washouts and other weird crap are like washboards. They're so
Yeah,
corrugated
don't
that
get-
they're knocking your teeth out.
I don't know what it is
Part
about
of
the
that
soils
speed.
up here, but, you know, over there near Montana B, I mean, you can do 30 miles an hour down the road. No
Yeah.
washboards. It's
No,
just,
some areas,
Cool.
you know.
but boy, I tell you, when we were in Idaho a couple of years ago there were Forest Service roads and they had gravel on them. I mean, you know, they'd had material brought in. Oh my God, we were doing 10, 12 miles an hour. That was it.
So rough.
Because the
Washboards,
washboards were so
yeah.
bad. It was horrible.
Yeah, well, the washboards really are because of speed. It starts, the first people are flying along and one hole begets another hole, and pretty soon the whole road for miles is washboards.
Yeah, the other thing is, you know, you not only get
Extricate the seat.
you know those
I've been on some
washboards.
of those.
It's just amazing how, you know, they'll build up to a point where you can't go slow enough. But there was when we were at Mojave 1, apparently there's lots of quads in that area,
Mhm.
and the power line road there, they washboarded the heck out. But it's not like regular washboards. And we're
Sure.
talking like 5 to 8 feet peak to peak.
Oh, big. Oh,
And so
they're-
it's
they're-
not me. It's
Yeah.
boom, 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 boom
jumping.
like this,
Yeah.
and you really had
Yeah,
to
the
slow
side
down.
by sides and four wheelers can eventually tear up the road pretty good. Bentonite, yeah, that bentonite can be interesting when it gets wet.
I have had in Yuma there and some of the farm roads because it's river silt and everything. Man, I had a 4-wheel drive Jeep Cherokee and it rained. I mean, I could barely keep it on the road.
Yeah.
And I'm not going fast. I'm just trying to get from this end to that end.
We were hunting.
Yeah.
One time in South Dakota down there, and it started raining, and we were back in on a bunch of that bentonite roads, just 2 tracks. By the time we got, it was like a mile to get out to a farm to market, a graded gravel road. And by the time we got out a mile, it looked like we had 2 16-foot culverts on the front of the truck. It kept balling up like just a layer. And it piled till it filled the wheel wells, and then it just started building out. And it looked like, I took pictures of the truck. I got them somewhere, but it looked like it had 2 16-foot culverts for front wheels.
Jim does fish some.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy loves to fish.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a good spot down there. It's north of Dillon along the Jefferson River there. Yeah. He knows where the fish are. We have some nasty mud when it rains here in Saudi. Yeah.
There were a few places in Maine where when it rained, it was clay and it was like driving on grease.
Okay, smoking. Hi, Cherokee. Yeah, we're still here. Just a second here, smoking. I'm gonna switch on over and see what we got here. Yeah, Cherokee, we're doing okay here. I don't know if you noticed, but I had my gallbladder taken out last week. So I'm recovering just fine. And I got to take it easy for about a month or so, which is very, very annoying. Thank you very much, Smoking. Eva, we got some in PayPal from Smoking.
Oh, thank you, Smoking.
And you were in charge of spending it, he said. That is the...
Cool! Bills are getting paid!
That is the instruction.
Bills are getting paid. A miracle has occurred.
Thank you, Smoking. I appreciate it. We're surviving over here, but it doesn't hurt to have a little more. Just nobody hurt themselves. We're not in any kind of desperate situation yet. I just worry if someone sees that there was a placer claim, they may want to claim the old timers tunnel. Was that a load or a placer tunnel there, Mr. Fang? And if, they might very well want to. It's a little tricky to claim load under placer, not too bad. My gallbladder, I've had gallstones for years, but it was never bad enough to be an emergency, and therefore the insurance wouldn't pay for it. So I got to the point where it was an emergency, and the insurance paid for it. So that's all. And thank you, Smoking. And that's basically it. 2 days later, we were at,
we were in Butte and going to do things. And
yeah, you couldn't even tell by looking at me that, I'd had something.
No.
I just had to be careful not to pick up anything heavy and not to slip and fall. If it's load, then you could, you could claim it yourself, or if you don't worry about it, then they can't mess that load or a tunnel claim I have to file. Well, first of all, a tunnel claim would only be an access claim. When you're talking about a tunnel claim, that would be like if you needed to get through a mountain to the other side, that would be a tunnel. Yeah. It's kind of like a mill site. It would be associated with a load claim. Assuming they were following some sort of an ore body or a potential ore body, then it would be a load claim if it was in bedrock. If it was like an old placer channel that is turned into, caliche conglomerate sort of thing, then it would be a placer claim. Okay. I hope that gives you the answer you need, Mr. Fang. How do you find old mines to purchase? Well, first of all, I don't purchase them. I go find old mines that somebody else needs my help on. That's my niche, so to speak.
Purchasing mines is a bad idea.
If you're looking for old mines, I would say you're much better off researching the old paperwork, looking for something that's interesting, that hasn't been, that isn't currently claimed, and then claiming it. Your odds are a lot better than purchasing a mining claim from someone who's vending it. Most of the people selling mining claims, their business is selling mining claims, not selling good mining claims. If it was a good claim, they wouldn't sell it, or they'd sell it at a really, high price.
Well, even some bad claims have high prices on them.
Yeah. And so I wouldn't worry too much about, looking on the internet to find people who are advertising mining claims for sale. I haven't seen one yet that I thought was a good price for what I saw information wise. Okay. And I just, there's enough of them out there that aren't claimed that were decent in the past that you should be able to find something of interest somewhere without a huge amount of effort, and it will certainly be a lot cheaper. Since the odds of any particular claim turning into a profitable mine are relatively low, then your expenses, your money out of pocket is going to be a lot less to lose than if you spent typically $5,000-$10,000 they're selling them for.
Well, yeah. A lot of guys are getting 5 to 10 for a placer claim. And now, actually, I haven't really checked lately, but I'm guessing with the price of gold, you're probably seeing higher numbers even on some.
It's hard to tell.
But the only way I would say, if you want to purchase a claim, would be to write a purchase agreement with the owner and then have 2 months to go in there and dig a test hole or two, or permit, time to permit some test holes or exploration, and justify that there's really something there.
Now, most of these people are selling the claims do not let you do much.
Well, see, they don't want you to, because they want to just schlep the claim off.
Yep.
I mean, if it's somebody's serious, if it's really a serious mine that somebody has for sale, they're going to give you that opportunity to prove that it's worth what they say it's worth.
Yeah. Okay, couple here right now. First of all, Mr. Fang, apparently Chris says that a tunnel claim may be a little different than I think it is.
Yeah.
But either way, what you're talking about is not a tunnel claim. It would either be a lode claim or a placer claim.
It's either hard rock,
because it's already
gravels,
there. Yeah. Is it bedrock or is it gravels and cobbles? Does it make sense to start with the ones that have not been claimed since the late 30s, early 40s? Not necessarily. It doesn't hurt. But if it was claimed in the 80s and then dropped, it may still be a pretty good claim. As long as it's not claimed now and you have historical information that makes it look like it might have been a good claim, those are the two criteria. It could have been claimed continuously up until last year, then the owner died and it's now unclaimed, and that could be a great thing. I mean, because after all, the better the mine, the more likely it is to be claimed. So, or claimed again. So don't just worry about things that haven't been claimed since the 40s. Just what is not claimed now and you have good data on in the past.
Historical data for an area, and then boots on the ground. Go check out the area. Is there other mines, hard rocks above it, but next to it? The drainage was a placer drainage, identify the area,
Yeah. And William is asking, what are the typical areas to claim? Well, first of all, you want to go someplace where they found gold in the past. If you're back east, it's what, Georgia is a good one.
Yep, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina.
Apparently, Flower Gold Wizards find stuff. He's in what, Wisconsin?
I think so. They're Wisconsin, Michigan. Yeah. There's some gold.
Yeah,
there's creeks with gold.
Out west, pretty much all the western states have areas where there was good gold found at some time in the past. Montana, Washington, Wyoming, Oregon,
Alaska
California, Nevada, Arizona, Alaska. I mean,
New Mexico.
Pretty much all of them. You have to look at the areas.
Right.
And you can go to the equivalent of the Bureau of Mines of each individual state or the Geological Survey of each state. And quite often they will have publications like, lode gold deposits of Arizona. You got one, placer gold deposits of Montana here. And that's how you can find all this information. Forrest said, just go out exploring for mines. When you find one, see if it's claimed. I agree with Chris. First, find out if it's claimed, then go out exploring. I like that idea better. It seems to be on recently withdrawn land. Well, if it's withdrawn land, you can't file a claim.
Claim it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's withdrawn from mineral
entry
claiming, you can't claim it.
Yeah. If it's recently withdrawn from being withdrawn. Okay.
Okay. Then it's
so
open
it's been released. Okay. Yeah. Then again, that's a nice situation because it was sitting there out of. Now there was a time over there by Yuma where they had a similar situation, and my brother and I went out and said, "We'll stake some claims." Man, somebody already had them staked. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning. It was going to open. There were already stakes out there. Let's see. You're welcome, William. Yes, Jeff, if it was withdrawn land, but it has apparently been released from withdrawal.
Right.
It was a grammatical error.
Yeah, if it was closed mineral entry, you can't claim it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even in some of this wilderness, they say you can stake a claim in wilderness. Well, good luck with trying to do anything with it if you did.
Yeah. So you have to be very careful in determining what the land status is. For those of you who weren't there at the very beginning, I've been doing some research this weekend, and I found it very interesting that quite often there's areas of Forest Service land or private land where looking at the land status, you can clearly see there's an area of BLM land about the size of a claim that is just sitting there in the middle of it, where apparently it was a claim at some time in the past when the land status changed around it, and because it was a claim, it didn't there.
Right, it stayed under
and
control.
Then somebody dropped the claim, so now it's just a little claim-sized piece of BLM land, either in the middle of private land or Forest Service land. That could be a real interesting spot. First of all, it tells you somebody thought there was something there in the past.
Right.
And let's see.
Forest Service in courts, and she said that Sunlight Mine is processing. According to what I've learned, Jimmy, that they quit processing for other mines a while back when they shut down. Currently, they're only working on processing or potentially processing their own tailings piles. Otherwise, I think all mining is pretty much ceased over at Golden Sunlight.
Yeah, the gentleman we're dealing with over there at Montana Tech actually used to be, I don't know if he was mill foreman or whatever, but
he was somewhere in processing.
He was somewhere in that.
In the processing.
And so he's a real good source of information for those sort of things. And he said they're looking at reprocessing their tailings because they lost a lot of tellurides. The tellurides were not being adequately recovered by their system. And so there's still a fair amount of gold in the form of tellurides in their tailings. Man, that was kind of silly, Zeoxio. One of my mom's friends had a brother that gave a patent claim back to the government after his dad died because he didn't want it instead of selling it.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, that could have been a cabin site for about $160,000 or so.
Yeah. So.
That's pretty silly.
And it was interesting to see how all this patchwork is out there, and that was observable on that My Land Matters by using the right filter on it. Oh yeah, I still go into old mines. If I'm back in Tucson, just keep an eye on my channel here. And if you hear that I'm going back in Tucson, get a hold of me and we'll see what we can line up. Not a problem. And we'll see what it is. But yeah, if it's in hard rock, then you'd need to file a load claim.
No, Tucson. Tucson, no bueno.
Is there a process for getting gold out of tellurides? Absolutely. I'm not terribly familiar with it, but yes, there is a process that will do that.
And you'll get familiar.
We will find out probably, assuming we have tellurides, we're going to be finding out these little details. We'll pass them on as we get them.
Soon.
Yeah, it may be soon, as Jim says. You can pretty much recover the gold in anything if you do the right stuff to it. The question is, how much does it cost, and is it legal in this country? Like arsenopyrite is one of those things that's almost impossible to handle legally in this country. Mr. Fang says there's still one Tucsonan that needs me down there.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
It's time for you to relocate.
Jimmy says, what are tellurides? Okay. Gold can chemically combine with an element called tellurium to form a mineral that is a gold tellurium compound. And it doesn't necessarily look anything like gold, just like silicon, which is like a brittle silvery material, can combine with oxygen to form quartz. And quartz doesn't look like either of them. So tellurides can combine directly with gold. It's not like arsenopyrite with gold particles in it. It's actually gold telluride. And as such, you have to break that down, and you have to use specific procedures to do it without getting high losses. I know that Rick at Montana Tech said that they had problems with it wicking into the cupel. The tellurium would basically act like detergent and allow the gold to suck into the cupel in a fire assay. So you have to use a special flux and things like that. But calaverite, for example, looks like a kind of a chocolate brown material. And we'd have chocolate, this stuff at Montana Beach.
There is tellurites here in Montana.
Yes.
Not as prevalent as where they were originally found in Colorado, Telluride, Colorado, and that high country stuff. Or even I think California's got some telluride stuff in the northern.
Calaverite is from Calaveras County.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Mr. Fang. But anyhow, so that's what tellurides are. And they behave differently than metallic gold. And I'm not sure. I don't think they cyanide well, but I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
And so
that was part of the problem, and why some of that was never mined or didn't get mined a lot later in history, because nobody knew how to figure it out. They knew there was gold there to some extent, but they didn't know how to process it.
Yeah,
coming up with the process in itself was many, many years in the making.
And that may be one of the problems we have to overcome at Montana Beach is what do we do now? In general, you should be able to just sell a telluride to a refiner. I'm pretty sure they would know what to deal with it and be ready to do with it.
Well, if you could process the ore to a point that, you could, high grade the ore to a certain extent, or increase the value of the ore.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could sell the ore if the values are there.
Well, you say it's interesting that we're dealing with people at Montana Tech who are specifically working on how to recover gold tellurides from Montana ores.
Right.
So that's very convenient.
It was a lucky day.
Yeah. It really was a good day. Both my days over at Montana Tech have gone pretty
I've
well.
always had good experiences over there. And I always seem to get the answers I'm looking for.
Great
Okay.
people.
Mr. Fang, so the rock in the mine dump is technically load. No, it is not. If the claim has never been dropped, it would be load. If they claimed the mine, they'd mined the material, they'd thrown it in the mine dump, and they'd maintained that claim in it continuously, then it would be load. As soon as that claim lapses, now the mine dumps become placer because they're not part of the bedrock, okay, at that point, okay? And so that, if you're talking mine dumps and it is, and you're not buying the claim from someone who's had it since its inception, yeah, that's placer, okay? Underneath the ground, that would be the load. Chris, I think as good. Plan get the placer first and then get the loads after.
Yeah.
Go
to hard rock mining.
Okay, William, you have a good night there. Yep, that's basically it, Mr. Fang. Once it's been broken away from the bedrock, and then it changes hands, it's placer. Well, not necessarily changes hands. Once the claim has lapsed, and since you're looking at reclaiming it, I presume it has lapsed. Never hurts to double check. I agree. Yeah, William. I wish I had a day shift to go to, but I'm not. Let's see.
Don't wish you had a day shift.
What are the legal penalties if you are caught mining on BLM land? Are you mining on unclaimed land? Are you mining on somebody else's claim? Are you mining on your claim, but you don't have a permit? Those are all different situations, Cherokee, and they would all have different potential penalties. If you're mining on somebody else's claim, it's theft. Okay. If you are actually production mining on BLM land, gosh, I don't know. You could, if nobody's got a claim on it, you could say you're just testing, maybe, you're taking a sample.
The fact that you didn't file a notice of, intent or ask, to build a permit for reclamation, they could come down pretty heavy. It could be $10,000 a day or something. They could come down pretty heavy on you.
I wouldn't trust it in this administration.
Yeah.
And if it's on your claim, then it goes by certain rules as to when you need a permit and when you don't, et cetera, et cetera.
Argonaut, call your BLM office for that area. Talk to the legal department or the geologist in that district, and he can literally look up some of that. Some of it you can go to BLM 2000.
Well, because Argonaut's saying they're always telling him no, it's not. And that wouldn't surprise me, no matter what the status was.
They say no, really.
Yeah, that's what he says.
Is there other claims in the area? That'd be the first question, because maybe there's a reason that it's not. It might not be open, but if there's other claims in that area, it start to ask questions. Definitely, as the you're talking to the wrong person.
I would agree. That's a good way. Just look up at the LR 2000 and see if there's active claims in the area.
Yeah.
If there are, then it probably hasn't been withdrawn. Yes. Just bought a Miller table. Is there a hopper to feed the table? Not usually. As Chris says, you're usually spoon fed and use a brush.
Yeah.
Very low throughput on Miller tables.
Yeah.
They're for cleanup.
Yeah, but it's got to be fine material pretty much.
Now, if you're just walking around with a detector on BLM land that's open for mineral entry and not claimed by somebody else, then I think you could
pretty much go where you want.
You could detect nuggets and pick them up.
But any area you go into, know that you should know where there are personal private claims.
Yeah.
And that type of stuff, because as a miner, that you don't want to be claim jumping somebody else's claim.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not right for you or for the other person.
Yeah.
So you really need to identify where it is you're going and whose land are you on.
Well, Cherokee's near Johannesburg, California, and so I would imagine there's a lot of claims around there. Okay, because that's an old
area,
gold mining area. Absolutely. So I would expect there to be lots of claims there, Cherokee.
Yeah.
So the only guy I might see as a BLM ranger. Should I not just call the guy and see what he wants, let him know when and where I'm going to be and do? I would suggest, was Smoking the one asking about, no, that was Argonaut. Should I just call the guy and see what he wants? I prefer not talking to them any more than I have to. It's
yeah, you don't want to give.
It's like talking to a cop, Yeah, right. If you got a good reason, that's fine. But if you never know what's going to happen. Yeah, and as I say, claim jumping is not a minor little thing, Cherokee. So you need to be careful there.
In some parts of the world, claim jumping can get you dead.
Well,
Mr. Fang, you can look. It'll give you an area, but you don't know how close it's going to be. If you can find the actual original claim corners, then it'll give you a good spot to start with, and go from there. And B.R. Horton says it's a new website, MLRSBLM. So I think that's the replacement for the LR 2000. I think they took that down because
that thing was so archaic.
Well, yeah, but it also got compromised by that SolarWinds thing.
Well, let's hope that the new website is.
Because that LR 2000, boy, there were some nights where,
yeah,
it was not a fun program to work with there.
Yeah, Cherokee. You will need to make sure that it's not an active claim you're on. If it's not, then you should be able to take samples and things like that. There's no place other than the map. Yes, BR, you're correct. There's no place other than the map recorded at the recorder's office to know exactly where a claim is. However, I hear that new website from the BLM has a copy of that on it. So you can actually go there and get it. I haven't tried it yet, but somebody check it out and let me know.
I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
Actually, I will say it. It may be significantly worse than the old one was. We are talking the government here.
Yeah.
They are capable of fragmenting bad things into disastrous things.
Anybody could screw it up and beat them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. It's nice to have your claim documents with you when you're in the field. What's the new site, Keith? Are you talking Montana B?
Might be the new website he's talking about.
Oh, what's the new website?
I think it's lrblm.gov or something.
See, somebody just said it here. Eva thinks it's lrblm.gov. Let's see. mlrs.blm is what B.R. Horton says.
Okay, that's probably it.
I'm not sure. You can take samples off of BLM unclaimed land. You cannot take samples off of somebody's claim without permission, no matter what it is. It's their property. Mr. Fang says it's got a really nice layout on the new website.
Oh, really?
Then it was probably designed by the last administration, and the current administration hasn't figured out how to shut it down
Or
yet.
screw it up.
Yeah.
Well, I was pleasantly surprised at how well they redesigned USDA. USDA is really nice now. The food
They
database
actually
is
made 'em-
actually used.
They actually made them do some work.
The USDA food database is actually fairly useful now.
They forced them to actually show up and do some work.
First Squadron says, I worked in government, but I wasn't able to take pleasure in other people's misery. No, yeah, CC, you can't take it even for education because it's their property. Can someone come on in your front lawn and take something for educational purposes? It's the exact same legal principle. They own the mineral rights. Now, many people don't care and wouldn't mind, but legally, you're not allowed to take it. Okay. Okay, you take over for a minute, Jim.
I can. I can.
Visit the back room here.
See what good questions. Multiple surface use, Chris. I guess that brings up other questions. I mean, on a claim here in Montana, BLM or Forest Service, you have access to the surface like in a placer claim, but it's still multiple use. If somebody wants to camp on your claim or, hunt it or whatever, they can do that. You cannot keep people off unless it's an active mining operation like I'm doing or something. Then I can post the area and then keep them off of the claim because of equipment issue. We're under MSHA here and that. Then you can limit access to the claim. But otherwise, a claim, you own the minerals, but you don't have that true control of the surface. Can't get any map for any areas without going to either BLM or the recorder's office. Chris, you're right. As far as claims, I do call BLM once in a while, and the people down there will email me claim maps of who's in that section that I want to know or something. So then I can see how their claims lay out and what's actually claimed.
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing. Maybe this new one will fix that part.
Well, that was always a problem, is getting access to find out, is there claims there? Because sometimes the claims have been there long enough, finding corners, they're supposed to maintain them, but that's not true. They don't. I mean, so the question becomes, is it even a legal claim because it's non-maintained? But that's actually a civil matter as far as BLM is concerned. If somebody paid their money and shows they have it claimed, they used to come out and actually walk your claim when you filed it and say, oh, yep, you got your corners, and yep, you're good. Well, they don't do that anymore.
I know in Pima County they actually have the claim documents on the web. If you know the book and page, you can go to the county recorder's office
and find
punch
out
in the book and page, and boom, there it is.
Here, like in Helena here and Powell County, the recorder's office, usually the person running that actually knows right where to go and pull that out and say, yeah, there it is right there. There's what exists. So the county
Stakes do not invalidate a claim. Missing stakes, if they've been missing long enough,
right?
They can't.
Is it staked? That's you're supposed to maintain that claim year to year to year, and when those claim stakes are missing, I mean, yes, it could have been knocked over by a cow rubbing on it or whatever, but at a certain point, if that's not continually kept maintained year after year, it becomes a question: is it even a legal claim?
Well, and it becomes, if somebody, like Chris saying, overstakes your claim, then can they prove that your stakes weren't there when they overstaked the claim and this and that? It becomes a nasty area of legal disagreement in front of a judge.
Right. Chris Command
to decide
is
it.
when can corporations own or stake a claim? Yes, they can. Yep. I have a company. Yes.
Yep.
It'll still count against you as far as BLM's concerned. It will still count against you personally, though, the owners of the corporation or whatever. So under the small miners here in Montana, you can only have 10 claims. If you've got more than 10 claims, you can't qualify for the annual assessment, the lower annual assessment fees. So then you have, with BLM, you have to pay the full boat claim fee every year. Same cost of claiming the claim initially.
Yeah, Gene, it's basically a civil matter, even if it's with BLM. But believe me, BLM, if they want to invalidate you, they'll find a reason.
They'll just invalidate it.
Yeah,
they've invalidated claims I had because of their own screw ups, and then I get to pay the whole fee to reinitialize.
Restake it. Yep.
I think they were a couple years ago under Obama. I think they were doing that shit on purpose. To be honest with you,
They did it to Bear on purpose.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think they were told to do that because they invalidated quite a few claims up in a couple areas up by us, and I think it was all on purpose. Because the other thing that happens when it goes invalid is if it's been held in title, if I bought a claim from another guy, if it's been held in a chain of title for 30, 40 years, it's grandfathered into laws and regulations. If it goes invalid for 2 days, actually, if it goes invalid and you have to refile and restake, or reset it all up again, you lose all that grandfathering that existed up until that point of time. So I think some of those claims up where we were, they invalidated them on purpose because that way we would lose out on those chains of title.
Especially if they wanted to
Well, inevitably that's what they want, is they don't want us there, and anything they can do to make sure that someday that might happen.
Yep.
Can a church build on BLM land? My answer to that would more than likely be no. But there, I've seen some things happen on BLM land that really raise some questions. The government can sell land or trade land from one spot to another, so BLM can fluctuate. In cases where a rancher needs an access, or maybe the state needs an access, they can trade land and move the BLM to somewhere else. That kind of land stuff happens all the time.
Well, in terms of building a church, if it was BLM land,
You know, if it's
then-
their land, I don't think you could build anything short
I
of
don't-
what you have
yeah.
permitted.
because they
I mean, if you've got a mine site, you sometimes, you know, depending on where it's located, that you can permit for cabins or a shop or buildings,
Mhm.
but then your reclamation bond is going to go higher because at the point that you close that mine, that all has to be removed now.
Yeah.
I mean, the old days, you know, especially out in Nevada, that they just walked away and left the buildings and the ore bins and everything, but you cannot do that anymore.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that you can't even put you can't even camp for more than like 14 days on your claim unless you've got a plan of operations.
If you've got if you've got a plan of operations at your mining site, then you can have in your plan of operations that you're going to have campers there and an outhouse and all this stuff, and you can spend your season there mining. It's got to be portable stuff that can be removed easily, not actually built.
Yeah. So the church thing is probably, I don't know of a legal way to do it. Not if it's BLM land. What about underground? Well, if the purpose was a church as opposed to mining. Now, if you had an underground mine and you decided to hold church services in it, then I think you could probably get away with that if you weren't doing too much surface disturbance.
Yeah, but it would depend on how you're permitting, because, you know, are you permitted as a mine or as?
Yeah, I don't think you can
I
get
don't
away
know that
with
you'd get
freedom of
away with
religion.
it. I mean,
Yeah. I'd say Church of the Hard Rock. Yeah. Gene, and if I recall right, you're down there over near Bozeman. Right now, I'm working diligently on this project here, and unless we can't figure out a way to make it work and we shut it down, I'll probably be working steadily on this all summer long. My principal really wants to get something going here, and so we're working vigorously on that concept. We'll see how things work out, especially in the extraction end of the whole deal. And as I say, if we run out of things that we can do, then I'll see. But as I recall, if I'm not mistaken, you're the
on a site that is legal, you know, especially if it's just like two guys working on a claim or something.
okay.
But, you know, you want to have that stuff in your permit application, though, that how you're dealing with those issues.
Okay, Mojo says, "Hey there, buddy. I need to get your info to send you some more." Okay. Rather than give an address over the internet like this, here's my email address, hardrocku@outlook.com. And if you send me an email to that address there, we can discuss it.
It's easier to read.
How about this one? This is even better, huh?
Yeah, that one's a better.
Yeah. I'm so confused. And, but anyhow, so if you can send me an email, then I can get you the precise information and we can go from there. So I'll go ahead and put it in the comment section too.
Yeah, after not saying out loud over the internet, you're going to type it down on the internet.
Oh, not my address.
Okay.
So that's my email.
You never know with Bear. Go ahead and laugh, but you never know.
No, there's some other comments on here that are just too good.
Yeah. Let's see. Georgie, Church of Gold. Well, one letter different.
Well, if you could manage to establish an actual church and you had a congregation, then you might be able to claim some sort of religious persecution if they disturbed you. I don't know. You could make some interesting legal challenges on that.
Well, there's been a lot of them have been tried, believe it or not, if you went looking.
Let's see.
Nothing.
Gene, I'm not sure what the statement. I believe that's state, isn't it?
As far as the regulation,
I'm not sure.
Was that on the blast? It was probably before up there on the blast.
Yeah, it says
tried blasting underground without a permit.
Oh, you're welcome, BR.
Yeah.
It can get pretty rollicking depending upon what gets going on here. We start out basically with what happened last week and how things are going, and then try and do some kind of subject, and then it just kind of devolves into chaos. But
we had a subject earlier for a while.
Okay.
And we have a subject for next week. 2 subjects for next week.
Oh, what are they?
Well, my report on that Bureau of Department of Interior crud,
Yeah.
or whatever Jim is up to.
Yeah.
Regarding that's what I thought you were talking about, Gene, is the explosives. Yeah. Well, it falls under a bunch of categories. I mean, I get a survey every year from the USGS about how much explosive I'm using and where I'm blasting, because the blasting can screw up all their fault readings around here on all their sensors for geologic activity. So they kind of want to know what you're up to, you know.
It kind of makes you want to find out where their seismographs are and go up
There's
and just take a
geologic activity, so they kind of want to know what you're up to, you know.
It kind of makes you want to find out where their seismographs are and go up
There's
and just take a sledgehammer and start hitting the ground.
There is state licensing, but there's also under ATF, believe it or not, a lot of it. So it's federal as well.
BATFE.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that would be kind of funny though, to go near their seismographs and just start hammering the ground.
Well,
just for fun.
Yeah, if you're moving explosives and that, then there's a DOT, like Department of Transportation license. I think that's partly through ATF also for that.
It kind of reminds me.
Explosives, it turns into a real nightmare unless you're doing just small stuff. Favorite convenience store.
Mojo, I put the email address in the comments up there. If you need me to do it again, let me know. Probably scroll up about 15 comments, but you'll see it. And talking about explosives, I can recall a particular time where behind the seat of which truck was 30 boxes of electric blasting gas.
Ouch.
And whose boss had firmly let him know that should he get caught, he would be bailed out.
He would be, or
he would be. Yes.
Oh, right. Yeah, sure. Uh-huh.
Well,
unfortunately,
that's where you need to get the bail money in advance.
Yeah. It'd be a federal prison. That's pretty. And you could guess that one.
Yeah. No, it was okay, Mojo. But yeah, it was just one of those things. Like, yeah, as long as nobody looks, you couldn't see the dynamite. I mean, it was thoroughly buried under all the info. And the ANFO,
Yeah, but
said,
even having the caps along with it's just another nightmare.
oh yeah, yeah,
You're supposed to keep
legally
them
it was,
separated.
well, it was separated. It was separated by
a cab.
a cab and by probably 3 feet of
Graded.
ANFO.
Yeah.
That ANFO will suck up. And besides, electric caps can't mass detonate.
Well, even though they can't
They cannot.
theoretically.
Yeah, they can't
Yeah,
mass
they
detonate.
can't.
So yeah, it was not horribly unsafe, but it was certainly horribly illegal. And at that time the sacks of ANFO didn't say blasting agent. They said
I
oxidizer.
can remember when I was a kid,
can
and I'm
only
not that
assume-
old, but we could walk into the hardware store and
I
buy
can only
dynamite.
assume that the person
Actually
who
had
did
it.
this was either desperate for money, mentally retarded, or both.
Pardon who?
I can only assume that the person who was driving that truck was desperate for money, retarded, or both.
Did you hear what she said? That was harsh.
No, he was working. He was trying to get a paycheck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like I said, desperate for money.
Yep. It could be.
There's lots of ways you can detonate it. That's easy.
Boy, I hated dynamite. It gives me a horrible
Freaking
headache.
headache.
Oh
That's
god.
always.
I found out, first of all, wear rubber gloves.
Yep.
Okay. If you do start getting a dynamite headache, immediately take aspirin and caffeine, because the aspirin is an anti-inflammatory, although
Right.
ibuprofen probably work better.
Probably.
But the caffeine shrinks the blood vessels in your brain, because the nitroglycerin, what causes the pain
Opens everything
is it's a vasodilator. It expands those blood vessels. You want to shrink them back down again.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've had them before.
I've had them, and it hurts bad.
So he's told that you can't give everything. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels very similar to it. Yeah, that's entirely possible. Yeah, I mean, I'm careful what I Google nowadays. I was thinking of looking up something about sodium cyanide. Oh, the price of sodium cyanide. I'm just curious what it was. And I thought, yeah, better not. Because I mean, when
a lot of suppliers used to list it right on their website or whatever, what they wanted, but now I notice a lot of that stuff's not listed. You have to call for pricing or call for information.
it was, I think it's only about $1 a pound or something. It wasn't horribly expensive, but I mean, we'd get when we were first getting it out at the mine, we'd get like 20 drums or something like that, the little 100-pound drums. And it's like, yeah, I could kill all of Yuma if you just distribute it equally, And one of the drums actually got hit by a forklift or something and had a little leak in it. Oh, geez. The truck driver had parked it
Nobody had duct
like
tape.
behind the truck or something to take a nap, so the next day he could deliver it. And cops saw it, and oh yeah, it just got complicated.
It isn't.
Hello, Joshua. How's it going? Well, things have degenerated into chaos as usual now, so throw out a subject or a question or anything, and
Something mining.
we'll immediately jump right on it. It's the piranhas are working right now. Whatever little information meat falls in there just gets chewed up. Yep. Let's see. Perchlorate is, I think they're talking maybe tannerite. I don't know. Boy, have you seen some of those idiots with tannerite where they're like blowing stuff up, pieces go flying past them and stuff? You've got a high-powered rifle for a reason.
Put it out there a little farther.
Put the camera close 2, and then go way back and look around the tree when you fire. Jeez.
They don't. I don't know. See, we grew up blowing things up when I was little, so it was no big deal. You kind of knew better.
Yeah, my mom didn't allow stuff like that. I mean, when we were teenagers, we got into fireworks down in Mexico, and we'd go down to the beach at El Golfo. But nothing real serious.
We broke up rocks in the field, and we did all kinds. We were always blowing stumps, or we were doing something.
Yeah,
Dynamite was a handy tool.
still is. Just can't get it. Oh, one time I did try and do an oxyacetylene balloon. One problem with putting oxygen and acetylene in an envelope, so to speak, is there's something called static electricity. And so if you're using like a trash bag, as the bag separates, even the little teeny static sparks can set it off prematurely. Trust me.
You tried that one, huh?
Yeah. And got 3 big blisters on my hand here from where I was holding it onto the end of the torch. It actually put a plastic bag through my Levi's and gave me a rash. Yeah. It was violent. Yep.
This has got to be a guy thing.
Yeah, Eva doesn't understand.
Of course not.
But there's no difference between men and women.
I don't know. Somebody's.
Yeah.
It is a guy thing.
Things
We
going
chicks are
boom
sane.
is just something kind of neat.
No, chicks are not sane. They're just insane in a totally different way.
Well, at least we're not prone to blowing ourselves up.
That's true. You're not.
How many female bombers have you ever heard about? Think about this one, dude.
Not too many bombers. Poisoners.
Yeah,
Chicks
They're not
poison
bombers.
people.
Poison,
Guys
they
blow
like
people
poison.
up.
Yeah.
You're right.
Of course I'm right. That's a given.
Ooh.
I am the oracular voice.
Explain Hillary Clinton then. She's a sociopath.
We're assuming Hillary is actually female.
We're gonna get thrown off here again.
Hold on. We are assuming Hillary is actually female here. I have no concrete proof of this. Okay? That's like assuming that Michelle, you know who, is female. I have no concrete proof of that either.
Actually, I don't think Hillary blew anyone up. There's a lot of people with bullet holes in them.
She said
Weird
we came, we
suicides.
saw, we killed them or something like that. We blew
Weird
up Gaddafi.
suicides.
Uh,
Well, they blew up John Kennedy Jr.'s plane.
Yeah. We blew up Gaddafi, but that wasn't Hillary personally.
have I tried, I guess me, Joshua, have you tried a cracking agent on a wall face? I presume you mean like an expanding grout or
Yeah.
something like that. Answer,
I tried it on rocks.
no, I have not.
It'll work somewhat. You drill enough holes to basically fracture the rock and then maybe just fill a couple of the holes. You can get a pretty decent split on a big granite boulder or whatever. I don't know. There's better ways, I think, than that. They say it does work. It will split it.
You can use feathers and wedges.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Chisels and wedges.
Yeah. Zioxio says reptilians have no gender.
Good point. Good point. She is actually a secret illegal alien from Epsilon Brutes. Thank you, Oxio.
And I usually use the demolition hammer as my electric demolition hammer.
And me too. I got electric jackhammers and electric demo hammers.
Zioxio says expanding cracking agents are very temperature sensitive and very dangerous to your eyes and lungs.
Probably.
I have no idea, but
we've tried a couple of them just to see what it would do, and I wasn't that impressed.
If you guys find a couple massive lodes and ancient river deposits on the property of friends, what would your next move be? I'm talking massive gold quartz specimens, life-changing find. Well, the first thing I would do is I would ascertain who owns the mineral rights.
Yep.
You know,
And then I would offer them a lease.
You know, because
or ask them if they want to sell it. But you could lease the property to mine it or to pull specimens or whatever.
If anybody wants my opinion, I would ascertain the mineral rights first, and then I would sit them down directly, tell them what it's worth, and say, let's work out a deal.
Well,
I'll do the work, you guys get a percentage.
Sometimes a lease is a good way.
Time out. Suppose they don't own the mineral rights.
Well, then.
Okay, that's the thing. It's like it's on your friend's property. That doesn't mean they own those mineral rights.
Yep.
So that's why you have to ascertain who owns the mineral rights. If it is them, then you would talk to them. If it was not them, then you have a potential conundrum in terms of, do you obtain the mineral rights without telling them first and then attempt to make a reasonable deal or not? Right. Or do you just tell them first? You could, if they didn't own them, you could also say, look, you own these, these mineral rights underlie your property and you can theoretically claim them or whatever, and give them the opportunity to do that. And then if they don't, you could, stake those mineral rights in fairly good conscience and then say, look, I now own the mineral rights and I'm willing to pay you 10% or whatever. But yeah, it could set up a moral conundrum. But the first thing is, who owns the damn mineral rights? If they don't own them and they're not available, then you have no conundrum whatsoever. If they already own them, then yeah, you go to work some kind of a deal with them. The conundrum lies in if they don't own the mineral rights, but you can in fact obtain them by, say, staking or something. Then you'd have a question to have to think about. That could set up a situation. Absolutely. And let's see. Money kills friendships. Yeah. Terry Curry says, Eva, between 1985 and 2006, there have been 220 female suicide bombers, all loaded up by men. Let's see. Hello, Robert.
Do they come from a particular region?
Yeah.
I mean, the Vietnamese used female suicide bombers, but the Vietnamese, when they used suicide bombers in the Vietnam War, quite frequently would take their children hostage. And in other cases, they use female suicide bombers because they can get closer to the target.
Yeah.
Do you guys test new gold pans? I have not tried any new fancy gold pans in a while. I tried the Gold Claw a while back, didn't do what I needed it to do. For what I do, which is the hand panning microfine gold out of crushed hard rock ores, the Stand Sport 10-inch gold pan works just great for what I need. Have you tried any fancy new gold pans?
I have not tried any fancy new. I thought I would try one of the new flat, rectangular pans.
Bear would be happy to review one. If
just to review it and play with it a little bit. I thought it might have a use somewhere along the line, but I haven't. I mean, I guess I'm old school or whatever.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything now. I've seen Batea pans seem to do a good job of production placer panning. If you're trying to move material, it looks like a Batea is good for doing that. I'd love to try one myself, especially on the microfine gold, and see what happens. But the Batea seems to really winnow down your material pretty quick.
If somebody wants to send one, he'll play with it.
Yeah, exactly. Have we ever used a microblaster or a Sierra blaster? I have not.
I have not. I was on one site where they were playing with a new one, and I thought it was pretty neat. A nice, simple system. Did a nice job of breaking rock. For a small prospector in hard rock or so, I can see owning one as being an advantage.
Let's see. Zeoxio, I think, is pulling our leg a little bit. I just tie a magnet to a fishing rod and throw it in the river. Pull out big nuggets every time. Yeah, I'm a little doubtful on that one, Zeoxio.
Big nuggets of iron, maybe.
Yeah. All the magnetite in the bottom of the creek.
What is the best brand of flocculant on the market? I don't know about the best brand. If I need a flocculant, I usually just go to a Home Depot and get the pool clarifier. Generally, I don't like to use flocculant because it can cause problems with the kind of real microfine gold I'm trying to recover. Chris has played with Sierra Blaster a fair bit. Big surprise. Says it's good for small work.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a good tool to own.
Of course, it's another way to blow things up.
Yeah, I like that series Dan Hurd did on different pans. I thought that was pretty good. Terry seems to like Sierra Blasters on false bottoms. False bedrock, I presume he means. Yep.
That would work well, breaking up. Or a real tough caliche or so. It would work. I mean, it definitely has a use in the business.
Christ Command says, waiting for, I presume he means patent. It says patent and trademarking. Would you be willing to sponsor or partner up for, say, a percentage of the royalties? If you have something new, I will be willing to test it and give my honest opinion absolutely free. If it's something really good and it's something that I can maybe, work as a sales agent or whatever, I'd be happy to consider such a thing. Let's say first thing is just looking at it and see how it works and giving my honest opinion on the internet. It's like I've got this. Didn't know I got this, did you? This is a roly-poly, and in here there's some magnets, and this spins. Little motor there.
Did Magnetic Miner send you that?
Yep.
I was watching his last video he did with the new production one he's got.
Yep.
I thought that was the neatest damn thing I've ever seen.
This worked pretty good. I believe this is the exact same one he brought over to my house. Yeah, we tested, and it did a pretty darn good job.
His new one is kind of like it's open on the ends and does the division.
Mm-hmm.
And he just had a video out just
that was a dry one, right?
Yeah, dry one.
This is wet.
Oh, okay. He had the dry magnet system, and I thought that was the neatest damn thing because I can remember all the hours I spent trying to sort black sand out.
Okay, sure, Christ Commander.
Yeah.
Let's see. Would love to see a dry washer shootout. Yeah, not much use for dry washers up here.
Yeah, up here, our soils are damp enough most of the time that.
Okay, Mojo. Let's say I've taken a couple of tons, all hand-picked from the property already. If they don't have the mineral rights, can I legally keep my fines? Who does own the mineral rights? Somebody does.
Yeah.
All mineral rights are owned by somebody somewhere. If it's the federal government that owns those mineral rights, a couple of tons is pretty much for a sample without doing a claim.
I wouldn't even say anything about already getting anything out of there. I would just find out where the mineral rights stand.
Yeah. But yeah, that's. Yeah, Zeoxio, it's nice if you got $10,000 machines, but I got something that's a lot cheaper than that, and it fits in a little thing, and it should do the kind of stuff I need to do. Yeah, it's pretty good. I was quite impressed with that little roly-poly there. We used it on hard rock gold concentrates, and it did a pretty darn good job of getting the magnetics away with very little gold losses going with them. It was pretty impressive.
That last video he just had, I was just like, wow, is that cool? Or
Yeah,
what?
it's pretty cool. Let's see. So we got Christ Commander wants me to give him a call or give him a message, I guess. So let's see. Let me write it down here. Let's see. Christ commanded at gmail.com. Yeah, I'll try and get that out to you tomorrow, CC. Oh, let's see. Yeah, I say you do need to find out who owns the mineral rights to determine if you're stealing. I mean, you're probably stealing from somebody, maybe the federal government, in which case I don't have a personal problem with it. But yeah. I would also agree that, yeah, you keep your mouth quiet about where you got your material there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, there are plenty of people who sell specimens on the internet that probably get them the same way.
Yeah, Zeoxio, I got no problem with that concept there. Southeast of Helena. Yeah. Zeoxio's got a friend that has a mine southeast of Helena here that wants him to go look at it.
That's
sure, if I got a day off, no problem.
Yeah, that's always fun.
Now, that would be cool.
Even if you own the mineral rights, can the rightful landowner prevent you from mining?
No.
They
can make it bad if they want, but like here in Montana, actually Montana state law says the mineral rights take precedent over the surface rights. So basically you can make an offering to the surface right, holder based on you need a road in or things, you have to open a fence and put in a gate or what things you have to do, you need to make it right with the landowner. But the way the law stands, the mineral rights actually hold precedent.
Yeah.
That's why you see oil drilling on some of these ranches and that the landowner owns nothing. They own, they own surface.
Yeah,
they cannot stop them.
Again, it depends on whether you're damaging their surface to get to it.
Well,
this and that.
You
then
have
you may have to compensate them.
Compensate them for losses. If you take out an acre of ground in the middle of their wheat field, or whatever, you have to compensate them for losses. But that is actually the legal extent of it.
Yeah, I say it's just one of those things. It gets complicated. If you can work an arrangement, some kind of an agreement, then it's a lot simpler because then there's no questions and everybody's happy, so to speak.
Gene West is here in the Elkhorns too, it says.
Would you buy a patented mineral claim with half the mineral rights sold off and evidently others don't know about it? Wow, that's a weird situation. I would be hesitant.
Chris, I'm working on one right now that the landowner just found out that 50 years ago or something, when he purchased it, he didn't know, but they moved 50%, half the mineral rights to an heir. And right now we're trying to get that straightened out because we can't even find a living heir. So he has first right to the mineral rights. I can't go in and claim the other 50% of the mineral rights till we straighten it out. But yeah, there's some really interesting, crazy stuff that until you've kind of gone through it and get it, because in this case, the realtor was like, oh man, I didn't know that. And well, they don't.
Yeah, it would make me very concerned. I wouldn't jump on that one for sure. Robert McGuire says, Eva, look at Tourmaline Heavy Quarry, Poland, Maine. So apparently there's a quarry in Poland, Maine there.
Oh,
Poland is
You know,
beautiful.
when we go in and look at a property, that's the first thing we look for is who owns the mineral rights, because even on some of these ranches, the mineral rights have been divided off with kids over the years and things where, or maybe they were given, you know, part of the mineral rights were given to the church or some group. And you have to sort through all that. And if you're doing a contract, you have to make sure that they're part of that contract, because if they come back later and find out that you mined it and you didn't, the owner that gave you the contract didn't have the mineral rights, it's a nightmare.
Okay. Zioxio has a question here. I've seen that happen a lot. People die and patented claims don't seem to have anybody to pass on to. Basically an abandoned claim. What happens to them? Can they be acquired? To me, that would be the same as any other piece of private property that dies without an heir.
It goes to the state or back to the federal government.
Yeah. And I would think that you would, you know, that would be the procedure. It could either revert back, or what I'm thinking would happen generally is if nobody's paying taxes on
disappear off, right.
after a certain period of time, then the county would.
It would be on a county auction, a tax auction. That would actually be the first step, because the minute somebody's not paying the taxes, it's the county lien first.
Yeah, that's what I would look at.
The county, if you're checking county tax records, that would be the best.
Yeah, Chris says they often get sold at auction for taxes. Yep.
And they do.
Yeah.
I know of a really good mine up that I opened up a few years ago that this guy bought it at a tax sale, and the mine was running pretty consistently 5 ounces of gold per ton in the ore that they were shipping out of it years ago. And he bought that whole 20 acres at a tax sale for $66.
Yeah. So that's another way.
So what an investment that was.
Yep. Sounds pretty good. Oh, let's see. Anything else coming up here? Yeah, Zioxio, say if I have a day we can get together, sure. Sounds like fun.
I want to go too.
And Eva wants to come too. Big surprise.
Do I get to wear my Hello Kitty hard hat?
No, you can't. I'm sorry.
It's mandatory, isn't it?
Well, only if the mine actually has a tunnel.
Yeah, I have no clue, but I presume it does, or something. Shaft, tunnel, something to that effect. Generally, they don't say it has a mine if it doesn't have an opening like that. Yeah. Pretty snowed in. Hard to say when it'll be accessible.
Yeah.
Later.
Yeah, later. Sometime.
Guess what?
Mid-June.
I'm not accessible now.
Yeah.
I got the owies. You know.
Sometime in mid-June you'll get there.
Yeah.
1st of June, mid-June.
I probably read about it in the last weekend though, because I was going through all the documents of Broadwater County there. So it's entirely likely I actually looked at it.
Sleds could get you up there, but winter mining's not fun. It's hard enough in the summer.
Yeah, Zioxio, you need more of a location too, not just the photo. What I was looking at didn't have photos; it just had locations and recorded information, geologic reports and such. Oh, well, it looks like we've made it another 4 hours.
Have we?
Yes, it's almost 10 o'clock.
Oh boy.
Time flies when you're having
Well,
fun.
when it gets into that
The roll.
chaotic region, the time seems to go faster. So, yeah, I don't know why. Anyone got any more interesting questions or anything like that? Oh,
He doesn't know the location. That's okay.
yeah. That's it. We can just go take a
Well, thanks everybody for being here again tonight. Thanks for the good questions.
And what are we gonna do next week?
Well, you're going to give us a report on that new
New bill.
Department-
Department of
Interior
Interior Directive.
directive.
Yeah, see what we can learn on that.
Thank you, CC. What's it called? That would be a good question, Gene. Is Zeoxio, is that the name of the mine, the pay dirt?
You may be able to track it down then.
It's not very cold right now. It's about freezing. There's less than a foot of snow on the ground. The roads are pretty clear. And yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you for good night. I'm doing good, healing up okay. Unfortunately, I'm going to be not up to full speed for at least a month, so that's going to annoy the holy crap out of me.
And he's gonna boredom eat and get fatter.
Yeah, we'll have to get.
I'm trying not to. I lost a pound and a half over the last couple of days.
That was all poop. Doesn't count.
That'll be good, Zeoxio.
Yeah, Terry, we went over some stuff earlier. You'll like it.
I'll have to get insurance up here before I can get the hernia fixed, Chris. I would love to get it done pretty quickly so I can recuperate from both at the same time. That's that would be nice, because I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I could probably do the hernia surgery next week, and it wouldn't slow me down too much compared to what it would do if I was fully recovered. So anyhow. All righty. So I don't see any new questions. Glad everyone had a good time. Glad we got a lot of information flow. Again, it seems to me like it gets pretty interesting when things get chaotic there.
Well, some of the subjects actually get fairly interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
so somebody will just put up a question and boom, boom, boom. It just, kind of a chain reaction sort of thing.
Well, yeah, I'm learning too, and that's what I like about it.
Sounds good. Hope you're doing well, everybody. And
good night, everybody.
Yep, thank you.
All righty. I'm going to end the stream now. Gene, the next day for a stream, let's see. Gene, the next day for a stream, it's usually Sundays at 6 o'clock. Okay. And so that's our usual get together time. You can also, if you need to get a hold of me, you can always just comment on any of my videos, and it'll show up in my my comments section when I go to YouTube. Good night, all. Good night, Mr. Fang, Terry, Zeoxio, Jeremy, Chris, Gene, Patrick, Argonaut, etc., etc. We'll have a good time. Take care, everybody. Happy prospecting, and keep it safe out there.